Airman Cave Archives! Knowing and doing are two different things. Hey, welcome back to Airman Cave Archives. Alright, this is night 2 of taking a look at the Longboxes. And again, these are the mid-tier comic books that kind of have some sentimental value, as well as a couple of them have some actual real value. The Simpsons Comics and Stories, issue 1, and it's got Bartman on the cover. Love it. Oh yeah, they're getting ready to come out with a new movie for this, Spawn #1. Now keep in mind, if you're collecting or speculating actually, you want to look out for the one that has the newsstand or the little UPC code on the front of it. For some reason, people love those special new characters that are coming out, and people don't really think about collecting, but Spider-Man Noir, it is a really cool book, but I got it just because I like the look of it, and now everybody's kind of hot on it. Interesting read. Stray Bullets #1 if you get a chance. Kind of a weird offbeat comic book. There is much debate on what is the first appearance of Big Hero 6. I know some people think Alpha Flight number 16, but typically I go with this one, the Sunfire Big Hero 6 #1, and just because it seems to reference it earlier than the Alpha Flight number 16. Now, what collector would not have a Superman number 75? I've always wanted to try and get the platinum version, but they're kind of tough to come by. And this is actually where Doomsday kills Superman. It was in USA Today and everything. People went nuts. And if you don't know who Doomsday is, that's kind of a look at him in his suit. And that's him whenever he came out and started beating the crap out of Superman. And that's Superman, the Man of Steel number 18 and 19. Little mashup between Valiant as well as video games. You got Super Mario Brothers. And yeah, it's not the original Turtles, but it's the one that I used to watch the cartoon for, as well as my little brother Russ. And so you have the adventures of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well as the regular adventures. #1 issue. If you remember in the Thor movie, on the top of one of the buildings, it had the big, it looked like a horse's face. That's Beta Ray Bill, and first issue is Thor number 337. I am so hoping that if the Thor character that's in the movies now goes away, that they have him come in, Beta Ray Bill, come in and replace Thor as it is. If you'll recall from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Ego the Planet, this is his first appearance and cameo appearance. You have issue 132 and 133. Oh boy, talk about goofy, off-the-wall indie comics. We got Too Much Coffee Man. I am typically Too Much Creamer Man. Now, as a kid, both of these, knock your socks out. We got Transformers and Thundercats, issue #1 of both. I would go over to my buddy Steve Livingston's house after school and watch those at his place. Oh yeah, Watchmen #1, Rorschach, love it, Alan Moore. Now, the cool thing about this is called, I believe it was Wandering Star. I liked the artwork, and so I sent the artist a picture of one of my characters, and she, if you can see it there, she actually sent me a sketch of one of her characters, and I thought that was the coolest thing. Everybody's scooping this up now. We've got Web of Spider-Man number 118. It's got the Scarlet Spider's first appearance. I always thought this guy was kind of neat. He's kind of like a mobster or whatever, but Tombstone, not the guy on the cover, but on the inside. Web of Spider-Man number 36. Awesome cover. Not a lot of money, but Web of Spider-Man number 1. Little bit of a variant. Ooh. This is Wildcats number 1, signed by Jim Lee. Now, if you were a kid in the 90s and collected comic books, you had to get Wizard. Well, this is the first issue of Wizard, but it's not the regular one. It's the San Diego Comic-Con variant with the toucan down in the bottom. Oh, awesome. This was a big battle between Sabretooth and Wolverine, rolling down the mountain in snow. That was Wolverine number 10. I know people complained about how he was portrayed in the movie, but this is the first appearance of Apocalypse, X Factor number 6. I know some folks are kind of hot on this one. It's X-Men number 205, the first appearance of Hope Summers. And that's the second print that everybody's kind of interested in and thinking that maybe she's going to be a big player in the future. Love me some Jim Lee. Issue 268 of X-Men. How he drew Captain America and Black Widow and Wolverine. Now I know some folks are starting to get hot on this one as well. Uncanny X-Men number 221. First appearance of Mr. Sinister. Again, sometimes people get goofy, but X-Men number 201, the first appearance of baby Nathan Summers that turns out to be Cable that gets pushed into the future. Oh man, X-Men number 141, Days of Future Past. Cool cover. Oh yeah, Death of Jean Grey number 137. I talked about Alpha Flight earlier, but you've got X-Men number 120, which is the cameo appearance. I never understood the cameo appearance in this one, though, because they showed up pretty well in the book. We've got the original run, X-Men number 39. This is whenever they got their new super cool costumes. Now, this is an old comic book that I found in a thrift store in San Antonio. It's called Zap. And there's the number 0 and then the number 1. And as the story goes, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments area, but Crumb, I guess, had initially wanted to make a comic book and sell it, but then he got stoned or something happened, and he loaded them all up into a baby carriage and left them out by the curb. And then he went back out to check on them, and they were all gone. And so he had to redo the book and actually ended up pushing it back out at a later time. No pun intended with the crib. Well, and of course you've got the greatest comic book of all time. It's mine. But Blind Obedience that I did, that's issue 1 and issue 2. And then I actually ended up putting it into another one. But then you've also got Star Mage, which Jason Del Toro was oh so kind enough to be able to let us independent folks run an ad in the first issue there. And I actually put a little picture of Seuss, or Too Late Kitty, talking about my comic book. Now, I told you I'm a Valiant fan, And so I have a wide range of Valiant comic books that are super cool ones to have, but I've got a bunch of the gold editions, so like Bloodshot, a number 0 gold, Chaos Effect, 0 number gold, Deathmate, all the Deathmates, and the most important one being the Deathmate Black, which is the first appearance of the Gene 13 comic books that came out. And there's the gold version. My comic book guy, Rob, for Capital City Comics, don't forget if you're in the Montgomery area, stop by and see him. But he had gone to a Comic-Con and got the Eternal Warrior handout that they gave to retailers, and he hooked me up for a nominal fee. But I thought that was kind of cool because he knows that I like Valiant comics. I kind of screwed up on this one. Whenever I went out to WonderCon, I got both of these signed but not certified. Not that it really matters because I don't get rid of my books anyway. But Faith #1 and Imperium #1, gold editions and signed. It was kind of neat how they gave them to us because you had to sit in on the Valiant panel where the head folks from Valiant were there, and they told us at the end, hey, the secret password is. And then you had to go down to the Valiant booth and tell the people, and then they gave you the gold comic books. I really like the way this one looks, and I've picked up several of them, but Magnus #5, it's the first appearance of Rai, or Ray, however you want to say it. A funny story on this one. So this is the Ninjak #1 gold, the old school one, and the new one. But I had gone into a Books A Million, and there it was sitting on the shelf. And so I went up to the front, and they tried to ring it up, and it wouldn't ring up. So I said, wow, that's really weird, because if you look at the back, it says $3.99. So maybe there's something wrong with the UPC code. And so they rang it up for me at cost. But typically these are anywhere from $30 to $50, depending on the condition, obviously. I love this character. We've got Shadow Man #8. It's the first appearance of Master Dark, which is one of the big baddies for the Shadow Man line. And of course, speaking of Shadow Man, we've got the first issue of Shadow Man, the first appearance of Shadow Man. Not Jack Boniface, because Jack Boniface first appeared in X-O-Man of War #5, I believe. 4. Issue #4, and he's in the background playing saxophone whenever the Harbinger kids and X-O-Man of War are talking to each other. Thought that was kind of neat. That's one of the big things I always loved about Valiant, because their storylines were interwoven with all the comic books. Let's see, first issue of Solar, and the neat thing about these were there was a little poster panel inside each of them. So if you collected all the first 10 issues, it made the biggest comic book panel or whatever. That was kind of neat. Again, my comic book guy knows that I like Valiant stuff, so he got me the lenticular Unity #1 and then the red version of Unity. And of course, got to have X-O-Man of War #1. He's kind of like Valiant's take on Iron Man. All right, now we're done with box #2. I appreciate you for coming out and spending some time with me. Now that you know about my comic books, do yourself a favor, go grab some, read them, collect them, do whatever you want to. Ball them up and make paper airplanes or toilet paper or kindling for the fire whenever the zombie apocalypse happens. Whatever. Just enjoy your comic books. Thanks for stopping by. Airman Cave Archives! Knowing and doing are two different things.